Now, in the last few minutes, President Biden has begun setting out his pledge to withdraw all American troops from Afghanistan by September the 11th this year. He will declare it's time to end America's longest war. September 11th, 2001, attacks on New York and Washington claimed almost 3,000 lives. Attacks organised by al-Qaeda from Afghanistan. America's assault on the group's stronghold in the Tora Bora Mountains, the opening act of a war in which more than 2,200 American soldiers have since died. Today, President Biden told the American public that those attacks cannot, in his words, explain why US forces should remain in Afghanistan. The date they'll leave by, 20 years to the day of the attack on the Twin Towers. America's exit will almost certainly end allies like Britain's military presence there too. Critics believe it will also end whatever gains have been made in democracy, women's rights and governance, and leave the Afghan government continuing an unwinnable war. Drawdown will begin on the 1st of May. The day President Trump agreed with the Taliban would be the day troops were gone by. So the deadline has slipped, but the ambition of the new president is the same. Withdrawal absolute and not based on the security situation on the ground. America's longest war brought to an end, whatever the consequences. Joining me in Kabul is Zarifa Ghaffari, one of the country's first female mayors, and Professor Jennifer Brick Mutazashvili is from the University of Pittsburgh, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council as well. Zarifa Ghaffari, I was asking you, what is your reaction to this withdrawal? Do you think it's a good or a bad thing?
Thank you so much. Actually, on this decision have been made by President Biden, we as a woman in Afghanistan, we are much surprised because we believe that our rights are being treated kind of profit or a game by both sides of war. Every side of war is trying to make up a best thing for themselves out of remembering us as fighters for rights, as fighters for democracy, as fighters for the real image and the real history of this country. So this is something that we believe that really could make things more worse as things are going more worse normally day by day here in Afghanistan. Today, just yesterday,
Let's go to Professor Mutazashvili. I'm sorry, we've clearly got some technical issues, but we are trying to speak to Kabul. Professor, I mean, what is your reaction to that? I mean, clearly some disappointment in Afghanistan at this withdrawal. Isn't it an odd decision to basically say we're leaving no matter what the consequences are? The job is not finished.
Well, the job hasn't been finished for 20 years. And I think to many in the U.S., it's not been clear for a very long time what the job has been. So, as a professor and as a scholar of Afghanistan for many years, I've lectured to military officers around the country who've deployed to Afghanistan. And a common question they ask is, why are they fighting? And this is a political question that our leaders have not been able to answer. This issue of withdrawal right now is actually inevitable. This was already agreed to a year ago when President Trump, his administration signed this agreement with the Taliban. I'm not sure that the pace of the reform is what everybody in Afghanistan would want. But it is inevitable because he made this agreement, and if he were to retract on this agreement, it would put the U.S. in an even worse situation, but not to speak of the continuing conflict in Afghanistan.
Why did anybody pretend then that the Taliban could either be defeated or changed? They clearly can't.
So this is a very good question. I think that there was a hope 10 years ago that the Taliban could be defeated, and that was the rationale behind the military surge that we saw 10 years ago. But yet 10 years ago, our political leaders made the same mistake by withdrawing, announcing a withdrawal date at the same time that they were announcing a military surge. So the U.S. hasn't been very good strategically on this war across the board. So it's no surprise that I think that we're seeing the withdrawal take place and take shape the way it has.
Mayor Ghaffari, last word to you. Where do you think this leaves women's rights, particularly in Afghanistan?
Women's rights in Afghanistan, especially with the withdrawal of U.S. troops and international troops, it will get worse situation more than today. We had just one day back, we had a woman being beaten in a crowd in Herat province. So when this is happening nowadays, while international troops are here in Afghanistan and in the democratic government is here, so definitely things will be more worse day by day, especially for those women who are standing for their rights and fighting for a democratic and a normal, peaceful country.
Zarifa Ghaffari, thank you very much indeed for joining us, for overcoming the technical issues, and also Professor Murtazashvili. Thank you.